Yes, I do. I had some optimism that we would be looking at a major infrastructure package in partnership with the President and the White House. The first blow to those hopes was back actually on the 2018 budget request when the President's budget proposed essentially to eliminate the CIG program. The Congress responded, and we said no on a bipartisan basis, and appropriated a record amount of funds, $2.6 billion, to run the program as the law requires. And similar in 2019, yet another Mulvaney proposal to essentially eliminate the program, and yet another bipartisan response from Congress to appropriate $2.5 billion into the program. Back in 17, there was tremendously disruptive, and basically all of the pending projects were canceled. Now, this is a bit odd because the assertion by DOT was that this was administration policy. Now, everybody knows that president's budgets are not policy. They are merely a suggestion to the United States Congress, and Congress holds the power of the purse. So a suggestion by the president or an ideologue running the president's office or OMB or whatever Mulvaney's running these days, both, everything, is not a law and cannot supersede the law. Ideology does not supersede the law. Now, I have read the testimony here from the acting administrator, and it paints a very rosy picture for CIG, but I don't think things are quite as rosy as is purported there. Earlier this year, we sent a letter to FTA and transit agencies looking data that allow us to look at the CIG program and operation under the FAST Act. That's another one of our duties here, is to oversee the laws that have been implemented and see that they're being properly followed. Now, if we use that data, despite what I keep hearing and heard from the President's previous infrastructure advisor, DJ Gribbon, that the only problem was the environmental review process, and that's what was slowing everything down, and this administration was going to streamline things. Actually, if we look at the first slide, CIG projects have nearly doubled in the delays for approval. Entry into engineering, 135 to 289 days. Full funding grant agreements, 172 to 391. SSGA, 112, 243. Everything is more than doubled. So now to get a new start project through to the final phase is 391 days, more than a year. Small starts, 243 days. And this covers the entire period of the FAST Act, and certainly I think reflects that things are not as rosy as is purported. Secondly, staff found that the actions since 2017 have resulted in $845 million, almost $1 billion in extra costs. The risk assessment process added $650 million, and the delays cost about another $200 million. Then third, the staff found that the CIG cost share for new starts has shrunk dramatically. It's clear that transit agencies are feeling pressured by the administration. The ideological proposals of Mr. Mulvaney and DJ Gribbon, now gone, was that we were going to shrink the share that would be paid by the federal government and increase the burden on the local governments. And if you look here, it was nearly 50% CIG cost share pre-17. Now it's below 36.6, and that's because the administration has basically sent a message that if you ask for more than 40%, you're not going to get approved, or you're going to get a very low rating. This unofficial policy, or whatever this is, directly is contrary to 49 U.S.C. Section 5309 L 5. And the fiscal year 2019 Omnibus Appropriations Act, which said the FDA is not authorized to require a local match more than a project that is more than 49% of the project cost. Fourth, staff found FDA has delayed the use of streamlining tools. Now that's just extraordinary for an administration that was going to get all these barriers out of the way. I mean, if we want to repeal an environmental law, we can streamline that. If we want to get transit grants out, well, no, we really can't do that. Approvals for letter of no prejudice took 44% longer than under the previous administration. You know, these letters allow work to begin on a project earlier, which, as we all know, the sooner you can initiate a project, the greater the cost savings, as long as it's well planned. And, you know, we've heard from multiple transit agencies that are absolutely desperate to get a letter of no prejudice because of the potential cost savings. And so it's vexing and, you know, interesting, and hopefully it can be corrected, that these things are taking so long. So I'm hoping that, given the testimony submitted by the acting administrator, given the past record, that we can do better in the future. And that's why we're here today. Thank you, Madam Chair.